guys, and welcome back. We're gonna try this again.
Excuse me?
Excuse yourself. Whatever you said and what I did, same difference to me.
I'd hoped, well, our people can sometimes feel the rhythm of the language, despite lacking the vocabulary.
Uh-huh. Know what else is good? Words that mean things. Like these. Words.
Then heed is Lhasa.
Okay, so, it's kind of late, and I've been trying to figure out everything, and couldn't get my brain to work without trying again here. We already seen the intro to Miss Sarah here, and I was in the middle of talking about my snack and, nutty bars and stuff, and what they were, if you didn't know what they were. But we were gonna go get Madame Vivienne. We're gonna try again here. I don't know why she's barking in the middle of the night. Can't help herself, apparently. So I'm going to program Sarah as me and Varric, and from there we're going to probably not have her in company. So my main three that are going to be with me, if I can keep companions without upping the level and saying, heck with this, I'm doing it by myself. But if I end up doing it by myself, it is what it is, just because I like the party banter, and especially when I'm recording. So we're gonna try as much as possible handling with, taking people with me.
Lady Lavellen, on behalf of the Inquisition.
What a pleasure to meet you, my lady. Seeing the same faces at every event becomes so tiresome. So you must be a guest of Madame de Fer, or are you here for Duc Bastien?
Are you here on business? I have heard the most curious tales of you. I cannot imagine half of them are true.
But anyway, we're gonna try getting this recorded first before we go any further, because I've been having problems with my editor.
What have you heard about me?
Some say that when the veil opened, Andraste herself delivered you from the Fade.
I'm not familiar with that name. I was invited here by First Enchanter Vivienne.
Madame de Fer is a fond nickname the court has given Lady Vivienne.
I've heard she finds it amusing.
We were also talking in the last one about how Sarah is complete opposite of Vivienne, and Vivienne is kind of one of those circle mages that grasps out a lot of power. Has been in the game a lot, so her, etiquette and the way she forms her words into kind of like backdooring, slamming, or being contradicted of what those words actually mean, and how she kind of goes around certain issues where, she says kind of like certain formalities, like mages need to be protected in this and that, but when she becomes a divine, she's like the total opposite. She's more harsh on her fellow mages than she is with everybody else.
I've heard very little about Duc Bastien.
He hasn't been seen much at court lately.
His business with the Council of Heralds often takes him from home for long periods. It can't be good for a man of his years.
And of course, there's the civil war. Bastien probably wishes to distance himself from the actions of his one-time son-in-law.
Tearing up the Dales in a foolish bid for power? It will end in disgrace for Gaspard. Everyone knows it.
Some of those storytellers may have gotten carried away.
But only for the best effect. The Inquisition is a ripe subject for wild tales.
The Inquisition. What a lot of pig shit. Washed up sisters and crazed seekers. No one can take them seriously. Everyone knows it's just an excuse for a bunch of political outcasts to grab power.
The Inquisition is working to restore peace and order to Thedas.
Here comes the outsider, restoring peace with an army. We know what your Inquisition truly is. If you were a woman of honor, you'd step outside and answer the charges.
My dear Marquis, how unkind of you to use such language in my house to my guests. You know such rudeness is intolerable.
Madame Vivienne, I humbly beg your pardon.
You should. Whatever am I going to do with you, my dear? My lady, you're the wounded party in this unfortunate affair. What would you have me do with this foolish, foolish man?
The Marquis doesn't interest me. Do whatever you like with him.
Poor Marquis. Issuing challenges and hurling insults like some Ferelden doglord. And all dressed up in your Aunt Solange's doublet. Didn't she give you that to wear to the Grand Tourney? To think all the brave chevaliers who will be competing left for Markham this morning, and you're still here. Were you hoping to sate your damaged pride by defeating the Herald of Andraste in a public duel? Or did you think her blade could put an end to the misery of your failure? Run along, my dear. Do give my regards to your aunt. I'm delighted you could attend this little gathering. I've so wanted to meet you. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Vivienne, first Enchanter of Montsimard and Enchantress to the Imperial Court.
Okay, so, before we go on further, how adequately she disgraced him, humiliated him, and so politely, all at the same time. So, like her words always have some backdoor meaning behind it.
Is that Marquis going to pose a problem?
His aunt is the Vicomtesse of Mont de Glace. Not a powerful family, but well respected. And very devout. Alphonse will be disowned for this. It's not the first time he's brought his aunt disgrace, but I'm sure it'll be the last. And after such a public humiliation, I expect he'll run off to the Dales to join the Empress's war effort. Either to make a good end, or to win back a modicum of self-respect.
Charmed, Lady Vivienne.
Ah, but I didn't invite you to the chateau for pleasantries. With Divine Justinia dead, the Chantry's in shambles. Only the Inquisition might restore sanity and order to our frightened people. As the leader of the last loyal mages of Thedas, I feel it only right that I lend my assistance to your cause.
You say you led the last of the loyal mages. Loyal to whom?
To the people of Thedas, of course. We have not forgotten the commandment, as some have, that magic exists to serve man. I support any effort to restore such order.
So you're in favor of returning the mages to the Circle, then?
Where else can mages safely learn to master their talents? We need an institution to protect and nurture magic. Maker knows, magic will find neither on its own.
What's in this for you?
The same thing anyone gets by fighting this chaos. The chance to meet my enemy, to decide my fate. I won't wait quietly for destruction.
So this part is true. meet her enemies to decide her fate. Basically, power hungry, trying to get divine.
Are you devout? What's your opinion of the Chantry?
I was a great admirer of the late divine Justinia V. The Chantry, at its best, unites the disparate cultures of Thedas and looks after its most vulnerable. Had she lived, Justinia could have accomplished so much.
You are aware that the Chantry hasn't sanctioned this Inquisition.
The Chantry is leaderless. They're in no position to officially sanction anything. Besides, my dear, if there is one virtue the Chant of Light teaches us, it is forgiveness. Once the Inquisition has sealed the breach, I'm sure the new divine will not care in the slightest about official permission.
What exactly can you do for the Inquisition?
I am well versed in the politics of the Orlesian Empire. I know every member of the Imperial Court personally. I have all the resources remaining to the Circle at my disposal. And I'm a mage of no small talent. Will that do?
The Inquisition will be happy to have you, Lady Vivienne.
Great things are beginning, my dear. I can promise you that.
Excuse me with the yawning here. Alright, so before we continue, now let's go ahead and chit chat. Because now he's open.
You there. There's a shield in your hand. Block with it. If this man were your enemy, you'd be dead. Lieutenant, don't hold back. The recruits must prepare for a real fight, not a practice one.
Yes, Commander.
We've received a number of recruits. Locals from Haven and some pilgrims. None made quite the entrance you did.
At least I got everyone's attention.
That you did. I was recruited to the Inquisition in Kirkwall myself. I was there during the Mage Uprising. I saw firsthand the devastation it caused.
Sir.
Cassandra sought a solution. When she offered me a position, I left the Templars to join her cause. Now it seems we face something far worse.
You left the Templars for this. You believe the Inquisition can work?
I do. The Chantry lost control of both Templars and Mages. Now they argue over a new divine while the breach remains. The Inquisition could act when the Chantry cannot. Our followers would be part of that. There's so much we can... Forgive me. I doubt you came here for a lecture.
You've given this a lot of thought.
I know what happens when order is lost, and action comes too late. There's still a lot of work ahead.
Commander, Sir Raiden has a report on our supply lines.
As I was saying.
Alright. Well, before we go any further, I'm going to run over here.
Travel safely. Nissa thought you and your men might be working up a thirst. She sent me over to see if you needed anything.
We're fine, thank you.
And find Vivi. Okay. I will be right back, guys. Alright guys, we're back, and I put them in some new outfits. Okay, and now that we're moving forward here, let's talk.
It occurs to me I don't actually know much about you.
What do you want to know?
I'm not sure. Where are you from?
My clan never stayed in one place for long, though we primarily roamed the free marches.
Oh? I didn't think your people roamed that far north. But clearly I'm mistaken. I'm told some members of your clan might still be alive. Do you intend to go back?
Wherever I am is home enough for me.
That's how I feel now, after years of tending to business for the Divine.
I'd like to get to know you better.
You would?
Is that a problem?
Not entirely. I'm just curious as to your motivation.
No motivation, beyond making things between us less...
antagonistic?
Exactly.
As you wish. My name is Cassandra Pendergast, daughter of the Royal House of Navarra, 78th in line for the Navarran throne. I joined the Seekers of Truth as a young woman, and was with the Order until they withdrew from the Chantry. I remained as the Divine's right hand, carrying out her order to form the Inquisition. And here we are. That's all there is to know, my lady.
You're a member of Navarra's royal family.
The Pendergasts are a very large clan. Half of Cumberland could say the same.
Really?
No, but it feels that way. I have hundreds of relatives so distant they need charts to prove we're related at all. And they have them. Oh yes. The Pendergasts value their precious blood like it runs with gold.
And you joined the Seekers to get away from that?
It was a life worth getting away from. The Pendergasts are famed for dragon hunting, but few actually pursue the craft. Most are fat and lazy. They pay lip service to the Maker and care only for idle pleasures and past glories. My brother was all that kept me in Navarra. Once he was gone, so was I.
You don't seem to like your homeland much.
My family polluted it for me. What little I saw of my homeland was through the bars of a gilded cage. My uncle treated me like a porcelain doll to be placed on a shelf and dusted only when necessary. Thus I did not see Navarra, the real Navarra, until much later. By then I realized I knew it not at all.
Your uncle? What about your parents?
They had the misfortune of taking the wrong side in the second attempt to overthrow King Marcus. The king executed them, but spared my brother and I since we were family, and children at the time. Thus we were raised by my uncle, a Mortalitarsi who preferred the company of his corpses to the living.
Your uncle was a Mortalitarsi?
A death mage. He still is. My countrymen do not burn the dead, they bury them in special crypts. The Mortalitarsi supervise the crypts, like priests. Uncle Vestalis oversees the grand necropolis. Navarrans spend more time honoring dead relatives than they do with living ones. It is odd to be so fascinated with death and its trappings. I will never understand it.
So you were the right hand to the Divine?
To Divine Justinia, yes. And Divine Beatrix before her, in fact. The position is normally reserved for Templars of the Knights Divine, but my circumstances were unusual.
Unusual how?
You don't know the story? Thank the Maker. I will tell you if you wish, but it isn't as exciting as some drum it up to be. The short version is that I once saved the previous Divine's life. My reward was becoming her right hand.
But what does a right hand do, exactly?
What is your hand capable of? It gives, it takes, it beckons. It makes a fist. Liliana and I extended the Divine's reach beyond the Grand Cathedral. We went where she could not. After Beatrix, I was tired of the position and wanted to return to the Seekers. But Justinia convinced me to stay. Her vision for the future gave me hope.
You thought she could really change things?
Justinia knew the war was coming long before it began. She tried to avert it, but the forces arrayed against her were too strong. Sometimes you have to break a bone so it can be reset. That's where the Inquisition comes in. It was to be the answer. A means to preserve as well as an agent for change. I only wish she had lived to see it.
So, what's the story about you becoming the right hand?
Sweet Andraste, do you really want to hear that? It was, what, 18, 20 years ago? Some still discuss it like it happened yesterday. The tale gets bigger each time it's told. I barely recognize myself within it now.
That's what happens with stories that become legends.
I am not a legend, nor was I then. I was a young woman barely out of training. To hear others tell it, I alone saved divine Beatrix from a horde of dragons sent to assault the Grand Cathedral. Rather impressive for such a young seeker, wouldn't you say?
And the truth is?
I stumbled upon a conspiracy to kill Beatrix. A Templar Knight Commander was at its heart. And there was a dragon battle at the Grand Cathedral, but I had help from loyal mages who rallied to the cause. They freed the dragons from magical control. Without them, the Divine and I would both have died. Yet I became the right hand, and they are forgotten.
What happened to the mages that helped you?
They went back to their circles, with rewards and privileges and Most Holy's gratitude. Many of them died at the conclave.
An impressive tale. I can see why people enjoy telling it.
Just wait till they start telling stories about you.
Tell me about your brother.
I would prefer not to speak of Anthony. Another time, perhaps.
I'll let you get back to work.
I was hoping that we would have quite a bit more pull with her, but apparently not. Alright, so we're going up here. Alright, so we're going to read some codexes and then we're going to end the episode here. And then when we'll come back, we'll finish going through Haven and getting a couple more companion starts here. Sarah. This report by Josephine has been defaced numerous times in a different hand. On Sarah read Jenny, Abyssala, Lady Parts, Val, Knuckle Fronts. It falls to me to comment that this read Jenny for a creature of the court. I must have seen the effects of her actions, although I cannot be certain. Does that make them effective or ineffective? What I know is that she has vexed cities' guardsmen across Thedas, and always escapes. Assessing all available records, it seems clear that there have been multiple embodiments of the name, often at the same time. The limitations of communications are such that this is impossible to verify in the moment. A crude giant of a guard with her breeches at her ankles. The severity of this attribute actions vary wildly, from petty to outright vicious. While officials' reports label these actions unfair, I have knowledge of many named as victims, and several are of suspect characters. Sarah called them something altogether untoward. Yes, Mom, shits, lots of them. There are tales of Red Jennies targeting criminals, slavers, and even assassin guilds. The benefit of having a local is that they are invested in regional concerns, although this is obviously varies. I can discern no protocol. Don't need a title to be awful and deserve it. So who is our Red Jenny? She has been amusing herself in Vyrel for some time, although it is clear from her accent that she is deeply Ferelden. She met with outright laughter with my inquiry as to whether she had any special Evelyn concerns that I could address. I have conferred with Liliana about the danger of this group, and our estimation is that this incarnation of Red Jenny is, at least, a good distraction. Oh, the scary one cares. Alright. Vivienne, Madame de Fur. Magic is dangerous, just like fire is dangerous. Anyone who forgets this truth gets burned. An studious and talented scholar, Vivienne rose rapidly through the ranks of Masmard's circle. When made a full-fledged enchanter, she elected to join no fraternity, a decision that shocked colleges but may have been a calculated maneuver, which Vivienne doesn't do without calculation. When she successfully applied to be appointed enchanter to the imperial court, nearly every fraternity clamored for her favor in hopes of having a representative at the emperor's ear. She was voted first enchanter of Mazara at the age young enough to cause scandal. The circle widely regards her as the most shrewd and disciplined mage in Orlais. Can't imagine why. Alright, this one. Friends of Retry. The friends, don't poke at them. It's tempting, because what else can you do? But don't. Never know what you'll get. Because Retry, she's around a long time. She's everywhere. And she hits hard or she hits light, but the choosing isn't up to you. You want someone to get their dessert, save your coppers for a moral quarrel, and know what you're getting. Notes from Sir Kenter, a traveling merchant, to his son, Arabel. They're a distraction, whichever they are. Keeps people busy and the lords edgy. And with the assaults not having any bearings, we've been paid to strike at guest rivals several times now. Bard should pay her a commission. Anonymous. My father went after her once. You want to lose your friends fast? Just say you're tracking hers. He followed a report that said she was killed in Navarra. Everyone in that command, to a man, dead or hobble, or somehow lost their claims during the winter following. Know when that was written? 52 years ago. I'll take a witch over whatever she is. Let her pick at the nobles. I think it's nature. Recommendation of Captain Varn. Private militiaman contracted in Delorman. How's it work? You tell me how to ask. Ask for something bad to happen. Eventually something does. Did she do it? Doesn't matter. Either way, you think you had a piece, maybe that's enough. Interview at Masmard Tavern, no name given. I know it was her. Keys don't not simply go missing. And the horses. I suppose they were loosed quite by accident, and in the fire that swept through the southern quarters, the flooding in my summer home, the drop in the price of trade goods that just happened to coincide with my plans to sell my investments, the chorea I suffered last season, the weather that is inconvenient whenever I travel. You cannot tell me all these things were mere happenstance. Perhaps your disbelief is her doing as well. You dismiss, everyone is dismissed. The scattered note of Ban Markle. Alright. The Pentecost. Allow me to correct you on one important point, my friend. The Pentecosts are Navarra. Without us, this nation would either still be one of the multi-city-state that compares to the Free Marches, or under Olesian control. More likely the later, as only Navarra's strength holds back the empire's expansion, and by that I refer to the brilliance of Pentecost generals and the influences of Pentecost coin. I find it interesting that you mention dragon hunting as our only significant trait. You do understand, I hope, that dragons disappeared a century ago, only recently returning at the beginning of this age. Some of our clan have taken up the old trade out of nostalgia. my cousin Ferrand the most prominent among them. But those days are largely done. Today there are 14 branches of the family, 18 if one counts our relatives among the Vane Marcounts, each consisting of multiple families and twisting bloodlines connecting us to almost every major house across Thedas. I am fully aware that the King Marcus wines in health, and neither he nor Ferelden have children. But make no mistake, there will be another Pentecost sitting on the Navarian throne, and that man or woman will lead us into a prosperous future. There will be no civil war. From a letter up by Barnes a la Pentecost, Dragon 938. The Seeker of Truth aren't Templars, not precisely. Once they're called the Inquisition, but upon the signing of the Navaran Accord, they give up that name and became the order they are now, standing over us Templars as watchers and enforcers. I honestly cannot claim to know more than that. I do not know how many Seekers there are, a few dozen. If they are a base of operation, I do not know where it is. Certainly not with any of us. The only time we'll see one is when a Seeker is summoned, perhaps in a response to a complaint by one of the first enchanters. They'll investigate the problem, and if it turns out a Templar did something they don't like, he's disciplined, severely, without question. Even the Knight Commander bows to their will. If a Seeker of Truth shows up, you know every last Templar is sweating, hoping their gaze doesn't fall on them. Of course, that changed when the Navarian Accord was broken. I'm told the Chantry broke it, but it was the Lord Seeker Lambert who made the announcement. He said that Seekers of Truth and the Templar Order were going to hunt rebel mages, no matter what the Divine commanded. I didn't know he had that authority, that he could just say he would do this, and everyone would follow. But we did. I never thought of it that way, but the Seekers have always been our guides. Now they lead us into war. From a letter written by Sir Jonathan Perry, 940 Dragon. Places. Navaria. The fourth time I attempted to cross the border into Navaria from Olay and was turned back by chevaliers. I decided to take a more roundabout path, a ship back to Ferelden and then another to Navaria. The outcome was more than worth the trouble. The whole country is filled with artistry, from the statues of heroes that littered the streets and even the meanest villagers to the glittering golden college of the Magi in Cumberland. Perhaps nowhere is more astonishing than the vast necropolis outside of Navara city. Unlike most of the followers of Andraste, the Navarians do not burn their dead. Instead, they carefully preserve the bodies and seal them in elaborate tombs. Some of the wealthiest Navarians begin constructions of their own tombs while quite young, and these become incredible places, completely with gardens, bathhouses, and ballrooms, utterly silence, kept only for the dead. Sorry guys, it's really late. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar by Brotherton TV. Okay. And this is where we're going to end it, guys. And then we'll come back. We'll talk to Varric and Sarah, soulless. We'll equip some potions and then make our way into the Chantry. Get that started and get it started to where we can open up to get 2 more companions. Alright, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.